at this moment, where would you place it in the ranking?
You still sure
you tell me where you'd place it. I'll tell you
where.
Hey, here, yeah, because I don't believe it's number 3. You've told me that in your personal list, but
by taking
as far as
on,
ranking is now,
I like that this movie takes on this personal story for Bond. This isn't just like another doomsday plot or whatever. This is personal, which allows his mystique to grow.
But what makes it personal for him, though? That's the other.
This is personal.
I know you've told me
this
in
whole
the past,
movie is personal.
Why is it personal for him, though?
Because his very life has been threatened by an assassin.
His life is threatened all the time. How is this personal?
His life directly specifically. Threatened. McCurdy, listen. His life specifically is not threatened. Like it's not. They say like, hey, we're gonna blow up England. They don't say we're gonna kill James Bond. Now
his
Spectre
life is in danger in the other jobs, but as a circumstance of the job. But this is.
Yeah, his life is in danger at all points in every single movie that he's in. He knows that he's going to always be in danger.
His life is always in danger.
He's gonna be a target.
Yes, but he's never been called out specifically by an assassin.
Like the other movies, the bad guys are like, I'm going to kill you because you're in my way. In this movie, it's just like, I'm going to come kill you.
What I'm saying is they straight up say, Bond, you are on leave to go figure out this whole assassin thing because now you're a liability, because this guy's coming after you.
I'll endorse your request to resign, or you can take a sabbatical and go to ground until this matter's settled.
The whole plot of From Russia with Love is to get revenge on Bond and get some goodies at the same time. But like objectively speaking, this is the most personal story for Bond so far as his career's involved, where it's like, this assassin is targeting you, go like off and go figure that out before you jump back on your assignment. So like it's not just like a national security thing. It's very personal where it's like you got to go find, like nobody knows Scaramanga. You got to go find him before he kills you, but nobody knows what he looks at. Like he's got he's got the high ground on you. You know, so his first step is, what victims do I know?
Bill Fairbanks, 002.
Oh, poor Bill. I miss him.
Now the man with the golden gun didn't.
Officially, that was never confirmed.
Where was 002 when it happened?
Beirut, 69. In a cabaret with a lady called Saida.
Belly dancer.
Belly dancer that was his girlfriend has the bullet. He's got to get the bullet, and then he's got to go have the bullet analyzed, and it goes through his butt.
Hotel, mister?
No. The nearest pharmacy.
There's no way to trace that bullet? No idea what it went through to get here.
They could have just analyzed the bullet they sent him, but...
Yeah. But the problem with that is, like, the movie, at the end of the day, it's like, well, that wasn't actually a bullet for Bond. It was just a cry for help.
Who do you think sent that bullet to London with your number on it? I did.
I think there would have been more conflict and more play out if they had just went ahead and not had this, like, trick where it was like, oh, actually, it was a cry for help. I would appreciate it a little bit more if it was like, no, it's actually, Scaramanga actually was after him. If there was a history there, or had, like we find out Bill and Bond were real close or whatever, like if there was something more there, if Scaramanga killed Tracy instead of Irma Brunt, and I know that's not the movie, but if it was something along those lines, like the intro of the movie is actually Bond, on a mission, and then we find out that Scaramanga kills.
You're saying you want it to be more personal? Dude, he killed a fellow
to me, just saying, like, oh, like he's after you.
He killed a fellow 00. That is always going to have some weight. Now, I know that the movies don't delve into other 00s. But sometimes that like
do.
It would be like in the future.
We know they
in the
do,
future,
but
in the future.
In the future, we know
but
they
as
do.
Of now,
but
they
I'm saying, like, again, like when you say this movie's personal, and you're like, oh, it's such a personal movie. I'm like,
in the world of Bond, it's as personal as it gets.
I think this is just a case of a different definition.
It's two professionals. Yeah. It's literally two professionals. It's like Red Grant all over again. Professional A versus Professional Z. Like Black Hat versus White Hat. Like that's as personal as it gets.
I will admit, I didn't, some things that you pointed out tonight, I never saw in the movie, and I think that I appreciate, like, you acknowledging or at least explaining these things, like the plane. So I still think the plane itself is a sight gag, where you're like, you look at it and you're like, okay, that's just goofy. It just looks goofy. What I'm saying is I appreciate you pointing out that, like, in the past, Bond is the one who's using the goofy gadgets, and this time this guy is using the gadget to get away, and he best Bonds in that sense. And I'm like, I never thought of it that way. That's actually nice. I still think it's a sight gag, but I did appreciate like you pointing that out.
Wouldn't you like you would expect though that like if Bond did that, would you be saying the same thing? Would you be like, it's a sight gag? Or you'd be like,
I'm saying I'm agreeing with you that the sense that it's like, yeah, I never thought about that before. Like, I'm like, oh, that's a good
think
point.
I'm in the middle of you two on that one too. Like when I first saw the car with the wings on it, I was like, that's a little silly. And then we see the inside of his dash kind of changes, and it's like, oh, this is like a Bond car, but for a villain. And I was like, okay, I can get behind this.
Yeah, but it's like I don't know. If I'm being real nitpicky about it, though, you could evenly point out that like, what if instead the car gets in, like he gets into a garage and the car's in a plane and that plane takes off, or something else, like get into another vehicle. Like it would have been the same thing. Like he's already, like you would get the point
Just get in a
across
plane
that Bond,
instead of a transforming
you would have gotten
car.
the point across that Bond is getting bested by this guy without having the silly sight gag in between. But it works. I see what you're saying though. Is that it's like, well, Q even mentions it. It's like, well, we have these types of things, you know, and it's like, that's the get to it. But I think they're like, as far as the goofiness, because when people describe, especially these Roger Moore movies, they talk about what is goofy about these movies. And that's one of those things where I'm like, that is like the indicative of like, that is why people think these Moore movies are goofy, is because you have things that are, the gadgets are sight gags in themselves. And like, that's the little things.
Can you explain to me though? Like, cause I get like, when you just say car plane, you're like, you know, it's kind of like the last movie.
Boy, where you been all your life? That there's one of them new car boats.
Which is a funny line.
Yeah.
And then here we literally have a car plane. But like, I don't see it as, I understand that at first glance it would be goofy, but it's not impractical. Like it's like is the best thing to fly around in a car plane. But at the same time, isn't that really what a plane is? It's something you sit in and it drives real fast on wheels and then it takes off. Like it's not, like if you think about it for a second, it's like, like it's not outside the realm of Bond. I mean, and that's what I've been saying, is that if Bond did it, you wouldn't think twice about it. It'd be like, man, you'd be like, there's Bond's in a fucking car plane. Like, and what they would do maybe today is, like you're saying, they would drive into a hangar and he would drive up into a plane. And he'd get out of the car and he'd get into the cockpit and he'd fly off in like a much bigger plane. Or listen. Or he's on the highway and he's flying along and suddenly wings shoot out. And like his Bond's like, I got him now. And then all of a sudden, all the controls in the dash start switching. And then like, shoom, like wings come out and he takes off and Bond is like, holy shit. Like, maybe today they would have done that. Whereas, and honestly, that would have been fun.
Maybe that's the key to me, where I'm like, that movie could have been better. Like you could have done things like that, where Bond, you actually see this guy who not only has who's the man with the golden gun, but you have a guy that is essentially James Bond, but he's the black bad. He's a bad version of James Bond. He doesn't have a country. He's more for money, and you could have had more of these gadgety things. And like, he has a really silly. The clubhouse thing, it's fun, right? It's fun. Yeah. But, we could have seen, that could have been the movie as Bond, just trying to get this guy, chase this guy down, all these things. We could have had more of those moments, I think, in this movie, but we don't.
One small little thing that I thought was just kind of interesting, I never noticed before, and it's not significant at all, but M's door has always been this leather, right? It's like a leather couch.
It's a cushion. Yeah.
It's like a cushion. But this time it had these little gold buttons on it. And what's interesting is that the scene with Moneypenny, where he's like, Moneypenny, why didn't they ever confirm it? And she's like, because they never found the bullet, darling. And then she disappears behind the door. Mm-hmm. The door has always had these little like inlets, like little belly buttons, little navels. And this time they had these little gold buttons in there. And then they cut to the belly dancer's belly button with the gold bullet in it, and it's the same design. The bullet is exactly what those little belly buttons on the door were. And I'm not saying there's any significance there. It's just like, wait. Like, Did they know
there could
that?
have been
Like, did they do that on purpose? Because M's door never had those little gold buttons, as far as I'm concerned.
Was it used as a transition thing?
No, I'm watching it now because I have it on my computer. I see what you're saying. Yeah,
Yeah,
it could have been like I think that was the thinking was like this would be a great transition because sometimes you have transitions that are a little.
But they didn't zoom into it. But they just cut. But it's like little navel looking things.
Yeah,
and then they just cut to
that's
her belly
a good
button.
observation because like sometimes movies have like you have very literal like I get it. It's a really good match.
Yeah, like if
cut
they
to
zoomed
this thing
in,
to this come.
Yeah,
right. And then sometimes there's more like an idea of something like we see in one film. It was like in Diamonds Are Forever. It's like they pull up, Bond pulls up, and then you see hovercraft, and then next thing you know, he's on the hovercraft. Like things like that are a little like not on the nose, but it's like okay, I get the.
You're meant
idea.
to connect A to B. The question with this is, were you meant to connect A to B? Like, were you meant to be like?
I think Charlie,
hey,
I think you're right.
You know,
I think they were doing like that was. Maybe they just didn't match it, but it's like I see that. Yeah, I get
maybe
it. Maybe
Guy Hamilton. Maybe there's a take where they zoomed in on the button.
And it just didn't
and
work
then they
or something?
cut, and then they're like, "That's kind of stupid. Why are we doing that?" And then they just cut it out. But like, it's still there. I mean, like undeniably, it's like you have all these belly buttons with gold in them, and then you cut to a belly button with gold in it. So I just thought that was interesting. And then also that happens to be the design of the high fats doors are the same thing, where they're like big red doors with a bunch of gold buttons all over them. So it's like,
no, I mean, I think the movie was just being like, like gold is in the title, so of course we want to put that in the movie.
But it's like M's door is the same as High Fat's door. And
I
like,
see what you're saying.
I don't read any significance into that. It's just like something I noticed. Like, did they
definitely
was that on
a production
purpose?
design, probably a production design thing. But I mean, again, that's an on location thing too. So that could either be they built these design set doors for Pinewood for just the entrance part. And then when he actually gets to the actual location, that's separate. Or it was like when they saw the location, they're like, I love these doors. And then we could use this in the movie. Like, it could have been that. So,